Welcome, everybody, to SEO Bros Season 2. We are back with your favorite hosts, Yaron and Ben. What's happening? Wow, we've gotten new mustaches. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And our sunglasses
very thick.
are different.
Very new sunglasses as well. It's been a while. I'm happy to be back. Yeah.
What are we doing differently, Yaron, in Season 2 that it's going to be way better than Season 1?
I think the SEO and now AEO, GEO world has been, has had its fair share of innovations and upheavals in the last few months. I think what's going to be different is we're going to take AEO and GEO into account this time around, as well as, everybody's new favorite tool, Claude. And AI, we're going to talk about, I think, how to solve things with Claude and AI and recipes and skills and whatever. There's so many names for these new workflows that everybody's been creating. We're going to show some of the stuff that we're doing and how we're solving some SEO issues. And probably going to share a few, skills and workflows and whatnot. I think that's going to be a centerpiece of Season 2, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but for us at Aloha, it changed everything. Very different from how we used to work a year ago. Everything is new, everything is innovative. It's crazy. At least that's from my perspective. That's the new shit I'm bringing in. Pardon my French, I'm bringing in for Season 2. What about yourself?
Wow. Well, I totally agree with that. AI totally changed things. I think part of it is that it's just improving everything. Like, we can do things much faster, and hopefully the feedback we give to clients that we do live audits for here, websites that we roast, they're going to be able to execute it much faster right away. And hopefully there's some things out of the box, like templates that we could share, skills we could share that people could take and use, and that would be way different than Season 1. And I think there's a lot of small businesses that are behind the ball, if you will. They're not adopting AI fast enough.
Yeah, in terms of AI adoption, definitely. I was actually thinking you're saying like a lot of small businesses are beyond on SEO and AEO, but from my perspective, at least from our perspective, we've now become available to these small businesses.
That's true.
Because we can offer the same value as we used to be able to only offer to, big enterprise companies. Now we can offer it to smaller guys, so we can compete better against these bigger guys.
But you got more competition because one-man SEO teams can just work with bigger companies.
Yeah, but one-man SEO teams, there is this thing that we're seeing now in the industry where everybody thinks they can do everything with Claude, so they don't need anybody else.
That's true.
Which is a very interesting, narrative that's been going on. I can't replace what's it called, a UX writer, right? When I go to Claude and I say, hey, I need to do some writing for my website, some user experience optimization of my writing, I don't know if the output's good or not. I don't know how to evaluate the output from Claude. And it goes for everybody who is an expert in a field. You're the one who's going to evaluate the output from an AI. So a person stepping in and saying, oh, I'm going to do SEO with Claude, it's like, how do you know what you're doing is correct? Why? Because Claude suggested it? Ask him a question about your industry where you're the expert and see what the response is and tell me if it's good or not. Same thing goes for SEO, AEO, GEO, everything. Any industry. An AI is an assistant. It's not a replacer. It can do stuff. It can, streamline processes, but it doesn't replace knowledge because it's based on a bunch of stuff that's found online, and it doesn't know how to evaluate. And with SEO, funnily enough, the really good information is not found online. People don't share it. I think, how to do a proper tech audit, in-depth tech audit, it's not shared online. how to do proper SEO content. It's not shared online. The old stuff is, keyword stuffing and put it in the heading, yeah. But that's the basics. The real juice is not found online. It's never going to be found online.
The real juice is on SEO Bros season 2.
That's true.
So I
There
think
you
you're
go.
right
There you have it. There you have it.
Okay, let me put you on the hot seat because I got some major AEO
Gosh.
questions, and I'm going to
Okay.
ask you, and you're going to give me quick, rapid answers.
I'm going to do my best. Okay. This is not
Okay.
scripted, by the way, guys. So much like how we're roasting, I have no idea
Nothing we
what's
do is
coming my way.
scripted. There's not a
Okay.
single thing I do in my life that's scripted. I am against scripts.
You're against scripts. Okay.
Okay. LLMs.txt, important or crap?
Unknown yet. Do it.
Okay, do it. Still do it, but
Do it
we don't
because
know.
nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Schema, is that important?
Seems to be.
Okay. What about
think about it this way. It's a small effort, especially today with AI, to do these schemas and implement them. It's a small effort for a big gain. Basically, you're serving the content better to an AI who can better understand it. You're making it easier. In AI in general, you need to remember AIs, they try to be as efficient and as power saving as possible. They're always looking for shortcuts. When you give them the information easier, they like you better. They're more likely to come back to you because it's less demanding for them to get the answer from you. That's the idea.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so schema important. What about listicles? I've been seeing data that like 60% of everything cited is listicles. Important?
I don't know if I agree with that. It's important nonetheless for SEO. I don't know if that 60% of anything being cited is a listicle. I think what is actually happening is a lot of websites that have very high authority use the listicle type of content. And then there's a confusion on what's the driver behind it. But if you have a listicle is a good type of content to do anyway for SEO. So why not do them anyway? People, AEO and SEO are not two separate things. They lean on each other. They work together. One has stuff that the other doesn't require, but they complement each other.
Man, half of LinkedIn is completely disagreeing with you. It's amazing.
Okay.
I could literally write.
What do they say?
We're going to have a debate. We're going to have a debate on season 2. We're going to bring someone on that thinks that they're two completely separate things, and we'll duke it out. It's going to be fun. Okay, next question.
They have, well, hold on. They have elements that I can do stuff that supports my AEO that wouldn't necessarily support my SEO. But saying that they're completely separate and one doesn't complement the other, I don't see how that's a thing.
That's true. I think 90% of AEO is SEO.
Let's see. Let's bring your expert that disagrees. I'm curious to see.
All right.
Maybe he'll convince me. I don't know. That's my thought today. I don't mind learning.
Yeah.
I'll change my mind. If you give me a good case, I'll change my mind.
Bring an open mind. Brilliant. What about this? Content freshness. Is that more important now? How are you looking at it differently?
It's become more important, because AI obviously prefers fresher and more up-to-date content, but it's also become more important because everybody's doing it more. AI writing is still slowly taking over the writing world. People are learning how to use it and how to not use it also. People are understanding slowly that going to ChatGPT and saying, hey, write me an article about XYZ is not enough, and copy-pasting it. But they're learning where the value sits in AI writing. Again, much like what I said earlier, it's not a replacement. People who are good in writing and are good editors can just do more with their time. I would never just take an article out of ChatGPT and say, this is SEO optimized. Even if you told it to optimize for SEO, you don't know how to evaluate it. You don't know what data was put into it. So AI writing has its place. It's just not as simple as people think it is. And I forgot your initial question.
Yeah, no, that was related. That was really good. You're saying, obviously, you can't copy paste. You can't just say, hey, write me an article and get
Yeah.
it back from ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. But my question was content freshness. Is it more important now?
Yeah, because people are refreshing their content more frequently. So if you could, let's say you had the budget to do 100 article a year, 100 articles a year. Now you can do much more because the manual work, even though you're still using a person in the loop to edit and review and everything, is much less manual. Also, the level of content, at least from our perspective, has become much higher because we can automate a lot more of the research. So we can, for example, on local content, if you're selling, I don't know, you're doing rental houses in a location or hotels in a location, you can now plug in the local insights that used to be a lot of manual research and would not necessarily land in a brief or in the final article because it didn't land in the brief. But now AI allows you for that level of customization where you're providing local information. So let's say you're writing an article about hotels or what to do in Manhattan or hotels in Manhattan. You can bring in a lot more local insight because already at the briefing stage, you can do a lot more research. So there's a push to refresh old content that wasn't as locally optimized with their insights, with the information. It was more keyword based, like 2-bedroom rental apartment in New York, without giving the local information. It was very keyword heavy.
So
Now
you're
it's
right.
more informational insight heavy, and people are pushing towards refreshing. So there's a push to refresh old content now, as well as people are able to refresh more. So refreshing has become more important.
And I think
And
the challenge is
more,
going to be creating content that's non-commodity, like Google says, like unique, original content.
for that, that's exactly me going back to what I said about ChatGPT. You can't just go to ChatGPT. You need to have some kind of structure to it, and QAs and QAing loops. QAing loops is very important when you're working with AI, and QAing the research is a big thing there. So you're not inventing stuff, right? Saying that when you're looking to buy or rent an apartment in Manhattan, I don't know why I keep going there, but whatever.
Yeah, don't go to Manhattan.
You
Wait
need to you need to think you need to think about parking, for example, something that a person who doesn't live in Manhattan wouldn't think about.
I don't think they
Uh,
do parking over there. I think it's all taxis
I have no idea. I'm
and
just
Uber.
whatever you need. There are local stuff,
Yep.
that information that you might not think about, but now the content, like it's kind of expected for the content to have those insights. And if you just go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, write me an article about renting an apartment in New Jersey," there you go. It's not going to have it, or it might have it. You don't know if it will. You might go back and check it and redo it with ChatGPT, but then at that point, you're already looping back with ChatGPT back and forth, and it's not a sustainable model, basically, to go back to get high quality content as well. What about keywords? SEO is not dead. Ahrefs put out this AI versus classic search website, where they did an analysis. 90% is still done in classic SEO, classic Google, right? AI is being adopted, but still 90% of the stuff is done on classic searches. So
Right.
it's not dead, right? There's this hype around AEO and GEO. There's a value to it. Leads coming in from there are much more warm, much more knowledgeable, and they know what they want already. But people still search on Google. 90%
100%.
of them.
And a lot of them just see the AI overview and just go from there.
Yeah, an AI overview is based on what? On the top 10. On the information there. So if you have good information, you're going to be in the AI overview. And
Yep.
the person's going to see you. There's a shift. There is a small shift from clicks to brand visibility in SEO. That is definitely there. The CTR has been reduced, but
Yep.
people are they visually still see brands. So it's kind of a brand performance.
Yeah.
angle to it as well.
Okay, one more question. What do you
Okay.
think, and we touched on some of this, but what do you think is now the biggest challenge for SEOs in this new era?
I think it's the AEO GEO bubble is a big one. People thinking that it's a separate thing. I mean, we're going to have a discussion about that. Everything is still grounded in SEO, really. And then there's also what we also spoke about is the fact that people think, oh, I can do SEO. I mean, now with everybody getting this massive tools into their hands, these AI, LLM models, and they're saying, oh, I can do it by myself. And it's going to be a while until people understand that, no, you can't, because you can't evaluate it. Or maybe in 2-3 years, where the models do get to a point where they can really understand the information, they'll be able to replace us. But now, as things stand, no.
Well, that's good news. That's good news, because you could see I already moved in to the island in the Caribbean because I thought the models were coming after me. But I guess I'll have to move back.
What do you think are the biggest challenges?
There's a lot. I think for people that work for enterprise or big companies, the challenge is now that SEO is so much more visible. Like you got the CEO coming and saying, hey, well, how come we don't show up on ChatGPT or Claude?
Yeah.
And you have to answer that. All of a sudden, SEO teams are way more visible in those big companies. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of AI to pick up.
You mentioned these CEOs where they go to ChatGPT and they ask, why didn't I show up on ChatGPT when I searched? They're coming to SEO teams and agencies with these questions, but we don't have the data. We were very data-based when it came to SEO, and we still are very data-based when it comes to SEO. But in terms of AEO and visibility across AI, and we don't have much data. And anybody says that they do and they know, bullshit. Show me, prove it. They want to know what can I do to be more visible on this and that. How do you know that people are even searching for those prompts? We don't even know what people are searching for, how they're searching for stuff when they go to ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever.
It's true.
That's why I'm still basing my information on SEO. So if a query used to have a lot of searches, it is likely that behavior is still moved into AI models, maybe slightly differently, worded differently. The conclusion or the point where they reach it is different. Their funnel, their journey is slightly different. But those still hold value, I think, search volumes.
That's a good point. And yet there's a huge part of the industry that's like the tools, Profound, AirOps, Peak, all these tools that say, hey, we're going to give you 3,000 prompts, run them or whatever. And there's a lot of studies. I think in the beginning we were seeing studies that you really can't conclude anything. But then there's a study by Rand Fishkin that said you can see trends overall. If you use enough prompts and run it enough times, you can kind of see trends.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. When it comes to AI visibility, whenever we write an article, it's still SEO keyword based. We build up prompts that are, again, likely to be searched for this to show visibility on AI. We'll have a baseline pre and post article, deployment, and we measure, across time. We grab snapshots every 2 to 3 days. Also, there's using the API, and there's scraping from a computer in the location, which is completely different replies. Yeah. If you're using the API, the model learns what you're looking for over time. If you're scraping from a new user every time, that's more objective. But the user who is searching is not using a new user.
That's right.
So it's not even the same. It's a baseline of a new person coming to ChatGPT with no history. Right? If I go to Gemini now and I search for something with my account, Gemini already knows me to some extent and knows what I would, what to recommend to me. It's learning about you as well. So even that, both ways are not even showing real data. And even then, I think most, correct me if I'm wrong, but most AI visibility trackers, they have this thing where they will show you visibility, whether or not, let's say you're looking for more of a bottom of the funnel kind of prompt, and not always do you get any brand mentioned, right? But they're still counting that towards visibility, like no one was mentioned. But that reply is not really part of the visibility because nobody was mentioned, right? You need to learn to filter the responses where no one was mentioned and not include them in the visibility because no one was mentioned. It's not like you're less visible. Nobody's visible, right? It was
Haven't
a
come across
completely
that one yet, but yeah, that seems like a bug.
If you search for in ChatGPT about, I don't know, car insurance, would you always get recommended car insurance brands? No. ChatGPT could provide you with a response with no brand specific. It could ask you a follow-up question, but then you didn't get, the brands in the first response. But that's where the cutoff for visibility checking is. And that's not the behavior of LLMs. They could come back with the question to refine their answer towards you and not provide any brands. But that then gets counted as you're not being visible, where in fact nobody was visible because the answer didn't have any brand mentions. But I don't know, do you get that level of information on visibility trackers on most of them? I know we work on it because we've realized this issue, so we have that built in, but I think most don't have it.
Nice. We'll have to do a whole episode on your system. You'll show us around.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So overall, last question. Overall, you think SEO is harder or easier now?
From whose perspective?
From your perspective.
From my perspective as an agency?
Yeah.
Or from my perspective as in, so SEO is harder in some cases because everybody thinks they can do it on their own until they realize they can't. SEO is harder because everybody wants, data-backed figures and information for AI visibility and why this, why that. And, there's enough people on LinkedIn who say that they know everything inside out.
Yeah.
And then you need to completely, again, I mean, everything I'm saying is my assumptions. I'm not saying I know anything. It's from my experience. I'm not making any hard claims. Like I said earlier, if you can bring on somebody who will convince me that AEO and SEO are completely separate things, hey, I'm willing to listen. Nobody has a lot of data to back up their claims, and that should be in the forefront. And it's difficult when people come to you with questions and you're supposed to be the expert in a field that is completely new and a black box.
But it has gotten easier in a lot of different ways. You have AI now. You can do things faster, more efficient.
Yeah.
Content generation, you can scale it much faster.
You can scale much faster. You can get much better. Our content production line, I would say, has become so much better and so customizable. We used to have our team would create briefs and learn a client over time. Now everything, every client has their own custom chains and AI loops where they get their content the way they want it, and they get different chains for different pages. So a product page and a blog page, the way the content comes out is completely different.
Nice.
Everything is much more customizable and much more, bespoke to each client, which pushes the level up much higher. And it's amazing. It's crazy to see the results. But yeah, and it's standardized more in a way.
Huge.
Much more scalable. Yeah.
Well, Yaron, I'm excited. And
that as well.
Anybody who's watching and wants to come and be interviewed by us or debate us, you're welcome. Just DM
Interview, debate, roasted.
Get roasted. Yeah. Need some tips. Want to ask questions live? Just hit us up. We're here.
Yep. We're here. We're back.
We are back, baby. All right. Amazing. That's a wrap.